So welcome everybody to another session. Today we're gonna be talking about creating a safe container to connect with our emotions and feelings. This is a topic that has been coming up a lot. It's something that I have been learning over the last few years, what it means to create a container, how to do that, how it can look like. I have witnessed many people do that for me. Many people do that for groups, and many people doing that for themselves, and then practicing and learning how can we do that for ourselves. How can we create a container of time and space where we can be free to connect with emotions and feelings and things that we need to process, things that we need to look at, things that we need to reflect about. So I'm just curious if you guys feel like sharing right now, when you feel that you need to connect with emotions or feelings, you are feeling emotionally charged, or maybe you are struggling with something in your life. How do you connect with that? How do you create safety around that so that you can explore, you can feel, you can allow yourself to be with those things? I'm curious to know, like, what are you currently doing that is providing you with that container? So I journal. Amazing. Journaling is a beautiful way of expressing, a beautiful way of reflecting. You can go back to your journal and you can read what you have written. I journal, I walk, or I work out. Amazing. Thank you, Cami. So I can imagine how it's very different, right? To be journaling than to walk. It's like a moderate, like nice. And then to work out can be more expressive, right? Can be more intense. Physically speaking, your body's moving and maybe you're pushing yourself to the limit in whatever you are doing. And that can be a really good avenue for you to express, to allow your body to just be. I use the RAIN technique by Tara Brach. Amazing. I'm not familiar with it, but again, there are many different ways of how we can connect with this, and I'm happy to share today a few of the basics and what's involved in creating a container, right? Because I can look at it from the masculine and the feminine in all of us and how we use those two energies to create that container. I can also look at it from the executive functioning skills angle, like what's needed for you to be able to create that container. And I'm happy to explore those two angles and then see what comes out of that. Recognize the emotion, accept it, inquire where it originates, and nurture it. Amazing. Isadora, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Hi, Christina. Hi, Jamie. Thank you for joining. So if we look from something I'm learning I'm taking a few courses. One of them is a Tantra course, and the other one is an embodiment course. And then in those two courses, they talk about the masculine and the feminine energies that we all have inside of us, okay? And this is not gender-based. This is the masculine energy is the energy that allows you to, it's goal-oriented, allows you to create structure, to create boundaries, to communicate clearly. It allows you to get things done. It's the energy that allows you to move towards a specific goal. And that is the energy that we need to create a container. And then the feminine energy in all of us is the energy that allows us to feel. It allows us to be present with what is. It's always flowing. It's always moving. It's always changing. So an example in nature for you to kind of understand, and it really helps for me to have examples, is if you're looking at the sea, like the feminine energy will be the waves, the sea moving in and out and constantly flowing. And then the masculine energy can be a rock, right? It's standing there. and the waves are crashing into the rock, and the rock is always there. Another example can be a tree with deep roots, very still, and then a storm happening. So the tree is the masculine energy that is there and it's still, and then the feminine energy is just moving. It's a storm, right? There is lighting, there is rain, there is wind, and everything moves, right? So these two concepts, the yin yang, there are so many ways of putting labels onto these two energies, but basically we are going to use our masculine energy to create that container, so that inside that container we can feel safe, we can feel held, we can feel safe enough to then get lost in that feminine energy that is the flow. It's connecting with the emotion. It may be crying, it may be screaming, it may be crying because you're super happy, it may be hugging a pillow, it may be whatever you need it to be. But in order for you to be able to connect with that, with those emotions and feelings completely, you have to feel safe, and you need to have structure, and you need to know that this is the structure, this is how much time I'm allowing myself. I put a timer, so that's your masculine. I put a timer so that I don't get lost for too long. I'm allowing myself 1 hour to be here, or 20 minutes, or 10 minutes, or whatever. I'm making sure that I have no distractions. I put my phone in silence. I told my partner or the people that live with me that I'm not gonna be available, or I went to a space where I feel safe and uninterrupted. So you create that container, you create that structure, okay? That is all the masculine in you. And then once you are in there and you know that the timer will beep and you will be able to get out and have some time to regroup, that's when you then can feel safe to explore whatever that is. And inside that container, you can bring whatever you want in there. You can do some journaling, you can do some tapping, you can do a guided meditation, you can do a grieving practice, you can grab a pillow and scream into it and release some anger. You can do whatever you need. You can bring any practice that you like into that container of time and space, okay? It can be a meditation, it can be a silence meditation, it can be anything really, but that is your feminine then connecting, right? And then after, you will wrap it up. So your masculine will allow some time for you to, like if you were screaming into a pillow, you have to transition out of that and you have to allow yourself some time to regroup, to come back to the present moment, and then to be able to transition into whatever you are going to be doing after, okay? And that is the masculine takes care of that. Sometimes this container, I'm talking about you creating this for yourself. Of course, someone else can create that for you. That's why we pay for a massage therapist. That's why we pay for therapy. That's why we go to do a group meditation, or we go to do a group workout session, or I go to hot yoga, and someone is guiding me through that. Someone is creating the container for me to just show up and follow. So, but today I really wanted to focus specifically in you creating the container for yourself, because I don't want you to be limited by someone else doing that for you. I want you to have the tools. Some of you may do this already, but some of you maybe are kind of on the fence, and some of you maybe have never heard of how do I create a container for myself to do this, and how does that look like. So when you said tree, I thought of the bamboo. It's the most flexible, so it can be shaken to bend but doesn't break. So Isadora, it's so interesting that you bring the word bamboo, because one of the embodiment practices that I was doing is transition from masculine energy into feminine energy inside of me, okay? So the masculine, so it starts with the masculine is stillness, it's consciousness, it's breath, it's being completely present, it's just being completely still, right? And you are not moving, you're breathing, and then you are with yourself, and then you visualize yourself as being a tree with deep roots, or a rock, something really tangible, not movable. And then from there, they transition into the feminine that is completely chaos and movement, and then you just get lost, right? And then the transition that they use between one and the other, was a bamboo. Now I want you to be a bamboo. And it's what you say. Half of your body from waist down is completely rooted, it's completely grounded, it's completely still. And then from waist up, there is movement, right? And then you start practicing those two energies combined. And that was a beautiful practice. And yeah, and bamboo is what you say, it moves, it, but it doesn't break. So it's so flexible, right? So that's beautiful. So that is the masculine and feminine angle, okay? Now let's look at it from the executive functioning skills angle, okay? And let me know, guys, before I transition into that, do you guys have any questions about this masculine and feminine angle? Just anything that you need to ask, anything that you want to add, anything that you would like to share? Just allow a couple of seconds. And everything is connected, okay? It's just different ways of looking at the same thing, but sometimes it really helps. Should you always end at the end of the container time? Jamie, no, you don't have to, okay? But that's your choice, and that is your masculine being specific, right? If you don't have a limit, let's say if you have the next 4 hours, you don't have anything that is going to demand your attention, you don't have to go and pick up your daughter from school, you don't have to jump into a meeting, no one is waiting for you. So if you have time, then maybe your masculine says, I am going to allow a container that is not going to end in a specific amount of time, and I know I have enough time to be present, to just let go, feel, and then I will come back when I need to. So you decide what the container looks like, but you have to be tight with it, in the sense that if your intention is to have a limited amount of time, then that is your container, right? You don't have to rush out. But becoming aware of how does my day look like? Is there anything I have to get done? What is the limit time I need to be over with? And making sure that you can get out of it on time, and you won't be late, or no one will be waiting for you after. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Jamie. Thank you so much for asking. Should you choose a container time if you are working around things that aren't safe, and stick to the time? Jamie, beautiful. Yeah. So when you go into that container, okay, if you are working around things that aren't safe, you have to sense how deep you can go, okay? And that is also your masculine essence is going to be witnessing your feminine. So this is why sometimes doing this with someone else that is holding you, it can be so powerful. Because for example, if I'm doing a one-on-one session with you, you know I'm there. You know that I am holding you. You know I'm watching you. You know I am going to bring you out of it. I know, so you know that I'm going to be watching you, and if I sense that you are losing control, I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to create safety around it. And whoever is watching you, if you are in a different container with another person, the person's responsibility is to watch for you, okay? If you are alone, part of you has to stay conscious. Let's say if you have 100% of brain power and consciousness, maybe 80% can get lost in the emotion, and 20% has to remain present enough to bring you back. Okay, that's why you need to find that edge for you. You need to know what your limit is, and you will learn that by exploring, by practicing. If you sense that you are going into a territory that you are going to lose control completely, then maybe it's not a good idea for you to do it alone, unless not the first times. So I will say that you have to judge what you are able to do by yourself and what you are not able to do by yourself, and you need to be able to bring you back if you go too deep. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but Becca says, will you say more about the transitions for screaming into a pillow before and after? Yeah, Becca, I can share that for sure. Lucas says, what about imagining masculine and feminine as yin yang? Yeah, it's the same. More of the ethereal from form versus masculine and feminine. Yeah, Lucas, beautiful. Sometimes the words masculine and feminine can be triggering for some people, especially the masculine. So use whatever labels you feel well with, okay? But basically, it's like a polarity thing. It's like if you look at the yin and yang, there is the white and there is the black, and they are completely in harmony. So basically, those are two energies that complement each other, and there is a polarity. They attract each other, and then when they are harmonized, it's 50-50, right? And they are kind of flowing into each other. So ideally, we are going to learn how to do that in ourselves. When we create this container, we are going to, one part of us is going to create the structure and lead us into the process, and another part of us is going to be flowing through there and feeling and evoking whatever needs to come out of us. So we need to find those two energies inside of us. Maybe I need to buy a little bamboo and have it behind my place. I do this work. I love the river banks containing the river analogy. Yeah, see, that's a beautiful one too. So the river flows. The river is the feminine energy. It's like completely moving and chaotic and always changing, but it is contained by the river banks. And that is a beautiful analogy on how the river bank is the structure, okay, that is leading the flow of the river through a specific way. So that's what you are trying to do. You are trying to guide yourself through a specific structure, and then you are flowing your feminine energy through them, okay? And now let's look at this from the executive functioning skill angle. That is a little bit more analytical, more tangible. So for you to be able to create this container, there are different executive functioning skills that we are going to be using here. One of them is called prioritizing, right? You have to prioritize, and time management. You have to make sure that you are making this, the creation of this container of time and space, a priority. And then you have to actually create the time management aspect. You have to make it a reality in your calendar, okay? So prioritization, making it a priority, time management, okay? And then organization is another executive functioning skill that will allow you to, what do I need to get ready for that container to exist? Am I gonna do it in this bedroom? Am I gonna do it in this bedroom? Do I want incense? Do I want a candle? Do I want to have a pillow? Do I want to have a yoga mat? Do I need a blanket in case I'm cold? So organization also, it's an executive functioning skill that is going to allow us to be conscious of what's needed and have it ready and set up. And then you are going to use your transitioning from whatever you are doing into the container, and then from being in that container that can be emotional, can be triggering, can be expressive, can be messy, you may have snot, you may cry. So you have to transition out of that container into the real world again, into whatever you are transitioning into. And you have to make sure that you have enough time to transition. And transitioning can be physical transition. So you have to transition physically from being in this space to going somewhere else. Maybe you have to transition in the sense of putting things away. So that's a physical transition. Transitioning can be mental and can be emotional. In this case, if you are going to go to emotional places that are going to evoke sadness or fear or anger or whatever you are exploring inside the container, or maybe you do a meditation and you are floating, and then all of a sudden you have to go and do something that is going to demand your attention completely, you need to transition emotionally, mentally, physically, socially. Sometimes you transition from being in a room completely isolated and alone, opening the door, and then all of a sudden there are more people there, maybe your partner, your children, your co-workers, or your people you live with, or whatever, and all of a sudden you have to manage that energy, right? So all those transitions, you have to be aware of what do you need to make sure that you are transitioning properly. And this is answering your question, Becca, about what does it look like to transition from screaming into a pillow before and after. So why do we scream into a pillow? So this is when we are going to, let me finish with the executive functioning skills, and then we're going to dive into that specific practice. That is one of 1,000, okay? Screaming into a pillow. So executive functioning skills, to finish with them. So you have the transitioning, and then you're going to use the sequencing. That executive functioning skill of sequencing is going to allow you to maybe create some structure inside the container. So when you sequence, you are basically taking a task that is big and you are breaking that task into specific chunks of specific activities. So for example, you can say, I am going to create a container of time of 1 hour. And then inside that container, I'm going to start playing this music. And then I'm going to start doing this breath for 10 minutes. And then after that, I'm going to do a little bit of tapping. And then after that, I am going to do a laying down meditation. And then after that, I'm going to scream into a pillow if I notice something coming up. And then after that, I'm going to allow myself breathing 5 minutes to regroup. I'm going to do 10 minutes of gratitude and connect with things I'm grateful for in my life. And then I'm going to allow 5 minutes to clean up the space, put everything back. And then when the timer goes, I will be ready to go. So that is sequencing. Some of you may know, I need 15 minutes to transition from doing a practice that is emotional into being able to go back to the real time, the real world. Okay, so you need 15 minutes. So you need to sequence those 15 minutes at the end of your practice so that you can transition properly. Some of you may say, I can go from screaming into a pillow into going to the real world like that. So maybe you just need 1 minute or 2 minutes. Some of you may say, I have no idea what I need. Okay, so explore it. Create a container for the first time. Do things inside the container for the first time. Explore different practices. Explore how much time you need for transitioning, and then learn from the process. And then you are going to gather information to then do it differently next time. And in there, you are using metacognition, another executive functioning skill that allows you to be present. It's like the witness mind. It's like an observer's point of view. Part of you is observing yourself and observing what you are doing, observing how you are feeling, observing how you are behaving. And that is a beautiful executive functioning skill called metacognition that is going to allow you to tweak, to reflect, to adjust, to become aware. And then another one is emotional self-regulation, very important skill in this kind of containers and practices. Emotional self-regulation is going to allow you to self-regulate. It's going to allow you to become aware of, I'm feeling a lot of intensity, I need to breathe. I'm feeling way too much intensity, I need to stop now and lay down. And I don't want to go deeper today because I am out of self-regulation and I don't know if I will be able to bring myself back from here. Or this is something I need to bring to someone. I cannot go there by myself, it's way too intense. So that emotional self-regulation is really important for you to discover, for you to practice. And that's going to allow you to be present with yourself during the practice. Okay? Those are the main executive functioning skills that are kind of playing in there. So when does this become intuitive? Or do you intellectually work with all these components, especially the many types of executive functioning skills labels? So Amy, there is a say that says, let me see if I remember, learn the specific steps intellectually until you can flow through them. Okay, so in the case of executive functioning skills, if you are not aware of them, it's gonna be very difficult for you to use them properly. Use them consciously. Let's say that. Use them consciously. But if you start becoming aware and consciously thinking about, what does the transitioning look like for me? What does the sequencing look like for me? How much sequencing do I need? Because some of you may say, I just need the beginning and the end, and whatever happens in there, I don't need to know anything. Perfect, you can flow through it. That's fine, you don't need to micromanage everything, right? Some of you may think, the first times I need structure. I need to know exactly what I'm doing for how long, and that creates safety for me. So then you can sequence things more properly. If you can enter a practice like this knowing what you are doing, and that allows you to enter the practice and feel more confident and safer, then that's already a win. But it's becoming aware intellectually of these skills, labels, because at the end they are labels. But then once you become aware of them, they become intuitive. For me right now, I don't have to think about transitioning, sequencing, but sometimes when I'm struggling with something in life, with a specific situation, I will go back and run that experience through all the skills, because clearly I'm missing something. Clearly I need to learn about this experience. I need to reflect about it. I need to polish the way I show up, the way I use those skills to make that experience better for me. So that's when it's a mixture of intellectual and then intuitive. But the more you practice, the more intuition will kick in, and the more that you will be able to be flexible and flow through the practice. Okay? Any other questions about the executive functioning skills about this? Thank you. Your courses break all this down really well. I just needed the reassurance that at some point I will become intuitive. Amy, you will. I promise that in the course I have about executive functioning skills, the first sessions gives you an overview and it's very intellectual. But then after that, every session focuses on just one skill. And I do a meditation. I guide you through an exercise that is more somatic. And I invite you to look at the day-to-day life, your reality, and then see how that skill is playing out, so that you become aware, you feel, and you connect with the way you are using that skill. And then that's going to help you bring that skill, have it fresh, become aware of how you use it, become aware of any limitations that you may facing, become aware of complementing strategies to promote that skill, to nurture that skill, and then you're going to be able to go back to the real life and start behaving differently. Start creating a different reality for yourself because you are aware of it. So yeah, it's a combination, okay? It's a combination. That's why when you are going through this journey, it's really wonderful to have all these options, right? You have tracks that you can listen to, and then you have a course that you can take that is structured for you to guide. It creates a container for you to follow. And then if you want to take it deeper, you can do a one-on-one session with me or with someone else to go deeper into a specific circumstance or skill. And that's how you keep moving forward. So, but yeah, thank you for your question. It's normal at the beginning to be very intellectual until you start practicing, and then it becomes more, it flows more naturally, and then you stop thinking about it. A great example about this is driving. How many of you drive a car? I'm pretty sure majority of you knows how to drive a car, right? So do you remember the first time you sat in a car? Did you have to think a lot, or did it happen? For me, I was breathing, I was on the steering wheel, I had the gears, I had the clutch, I had the brake, I had the accelerator, I had to look at the mirrors, I had to adjust my seat, I had to look back. It was overwhelming. I just couldn't drive and talk. I was completely 100% present all the time, trying to remember everything that needs to happen, right? What happens when you start driving over and over and over? Now you can drive and you can look around, you can drive and you can listen to music, you can drive, you can have a conversation. And if you think about it, many times if you try to remember where did you go or what happened, you don't remember because it's autopilot. You don't need to pay so much attention anymore because it became a habit. And before, 100% of your attention needed to be in that task. Now maybe 20% of your attention is there, and 80% of your attention can be used for something else. So it's just one example of something that was overwhelming, how it became second nature after. It's the same with these skills, okay? Do you have suggestions for alternative ways of releasing emotions effectively? They don't involve intensity of emotions. Yeah, so do you have suggestions for alternative ways of releasing emotions effectively that don't involve intensity of emotions? Yeah, so Beta, so let's dive into what can happen inside this container. Okay, so we look at the masculine and feminine, yin yang, creating structure versus flowing through the practice. And then we looked at all the executive functioning skills that will allow us to be present and to create that container and that time and space. So now we can create that container however we want. And things that I like is like when you create a container, you can have a lot of different elements, okay? It can be as simple as having a journal and just sitting somewhere that you feel comfortable and journaling, but you can make it a beautiful ceremony. You can have candles, like you can have candles that make the space look nice. Okay, you can have essential oils for smell. You can have a smudge, okay, and then you can smudge yourself and smudge the space, and that senses you that you are entering sacred space. You are entering a ceremony with yourself. You can have crystals around you that you can use. You can have a mirror to look at yourself and do some mirror work. You can have a pillow, and then so this is what happens. Okay, when you enter this container, there is always an intention. Okay, normally you enter a container for an intention. Maybe you want to just meditate and just be in silence. Maybe you enter this container with the idea of doing a visualization exercise. I want to visualize myself doing this thing or being this way, or I want to visualize myself in this experience behaving differently. And then you are kind of rehearsing in your mind what that looks like. Maybe you go to Insight Timer and you find a guided meditation that appeals to you. You scroll and you see something that calls your attention, you press play, you put your headphones on, and then you just lay down there and you enjoy that meditation, right? That can be another one. But when you are feeling things that need to be expressed, situations in life that are emotionally charging for you, that's when maybe emotional processing or emotional release can be helpful. And in here we are entering a somatic way of doing this. I personally recommend somatic. What does somatic mean? Somatic means that you are using your body to express that emotion somehow. For example, if you are noticing that you are angry about something and you need to express that anger, a great way to express anger, some ways, screaming. If you are afraid of screaming into the open because you are afraid of maybe bothering someone, or that's when a pillow comes in hand. So what do? You connect with your anger. So you start thinking about what caused you anger. You think about the emotion and then you start feeling the anger in your body. What is the anger? Sometimes maybe here, it may be here, sometimes it's here on the shoulders. So you connect with it and then you scream it out. And you scream a few times and then you check in with yourself. How am I feeling? I need to scream one more time. You go again. And then you allow yourself to express it. Another time of doing that, you can have a towel and you can twist it. You can connect with, and you twist it. And then you visualize that anger going into here. And then after, you can do whatever you want with that towel. You can have a towel that you don't care about, and then you can burn it, you can bury it, or you can just wash it, okay? But it's a way for you to put that energy in there. Another way is to push a wall. You get against a wall, and then you push the wall. You can scream at the same time, but you are pushing into something, and that resistance, it's allowing you to connect with the emotion, and somatically you just do something with that energy. Physically speaking, it's energy. And I have seen people scream. I have seen people do the towel. I have seen people have balls and kind of do this. I have seen people boxing into a sack. Is so wonderful. You just give it all there. Working out is another way of doing this. Going for a run and just challenging yourself, it's another way of doing this, right? So there are different ways of somatically releasing that. Okay? If you are connecting with an emotion that maybe sadness, okay, maybe you are connecting with sadness and you just feel sad and you just want to cry, you just want to let it out. So you allow yourself inside this container. Maybe you just want to hug something, so you just hug the pillow and you just hug the pillow and you just cry into the pillow, right? You can hug yourself. You can just be kind to yourself and hug yourself, and you can verbally express what you need. Sometimes I have seen this, like especially when you are feeling something towards a different person, we can create a scenario. That's what we do in my men's circle. Sometimes we create a scenario. It's called family constellation. So basically, if a person has a charge, that person says, I have a charge with my wife and her mom, for example. So you say, who can embody the energy of my wife? And then that person. Who can embody the energy of my mother-in-law? That person. So where are they standing here? So my wife is here and my mother-in-law is there. So what are they doing? They're doing this. What are they telling to you? And then we recreate that scenario that triggers you. And then from that place, we then invite you to express the emotions. And then we try to find a way for you to get that out, somatically speaking. So there are so many ways of doing this, okay? I just know a few techniques, but inside that container, you can explore whatever you want. Tapping, it's a wonderful technique that I'm familiar with, and it really works well. Tapping. Why? Because when you are doing tapping, okay, you have to verbalize what's happening, and you have this sentence that you have to complete, and it's, even though I blah blah blah, I choose to love and accept myself. That's the ideal. If you cannot say love and accept myself, then you name the reality. And then you can just say that sentence, and normally you tap in here, okay? And then you say a sentence until the sentence really clicks with you and you feel emotion. And when you find that sentence, that's when you start doing the rounds, okay? And you are affirming, you are validating everything that you are feeling. Even though I am scared of doing a live session about emotional processing, I choose to show up. I choose to push through the discomfort of doing this session. Even though I'm afraid of being judged, I choose to still do it. And then you can go, it's scary. I don't want to be judged. I am afraid of showing this in public. What if I make a mistake? What if someone gets triggered because of me sharing this? And then you keep validating all these things through the different spots, okay? And then you're gonna bawl, you're gonna cry, you may sweat, you may want to scream, energy is going to start moving. And then after, you can do another round that you are verbalizing what you are choosing instead. And it can be, even though I am afraid of doing this session on Inside Timer about emotional processing, I choose to show up in my full presence. I choose to do the best I can right now. And then you keep saying that this is gonna help people. I need to model this. I need to be courageous. I need to share this with the world. I want more people around me who is able to do this. And I'm already feeling stuff. I'm already almost crying about doing this, right? So if you keep doing this, you are going to start releasing stuff. Okay, so let me see what you guys are sharing. Anger is said to be a secondary emotion for things like sadness or fear. Yeah, see, beautiful. So many times when we are doing practices like this in my circle, we name one emotion, but there is always something underneath. And so many times we can name them. Sometimes it's, how are you feeling? And then I can say, I'm feeling anger here and sadness below. And then when I can express the anger by screaming or doing something, then I will cry. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes I need to cry and feel the sadness, and then anger shows up, and then I can connect with what I want to do instead. But those are emotions that were stuck in there, and we need to move them somehow. So really good demo on the FFT. Thank you, Emilio. Yeah, you are welcome, Trish. Tapping always gets me crying really fast. Honestly, it does. It's so powerful. Yeah, very grateful. So another way of connecting with your emotions. For example, let's talk about sadness. I know one thing that gets me into sadness really fast, and I may cry right now. But something that creates a lot of sadness in me is, I'm already feeling it. It's the sadness that my mom feels for being away from my daughter. And that sadness is always there. But sometimes I allow myself to feel it. Because it is true, I feel that sadness. And I have a lot of sadness of living so far away from them. And I feel her sadness of not being able to enjoy the only granddaughter that she has. And that's why we did the sabbatical year last year, the full year, because I wanted to create a connection between them. But I can connect with sadness and cry like this when I think about that. So I may allow myself sometimes to, maybe I put music that evokes sadness, and maybe I get a pillow, and then maybe I just cry and I just talk with my mom and say, Mom, I'm really sorry I moved. That's what I wanted to do. I know it's difficult for you, but my life here is better than there, and I will do my best to facilitate visits. And then I just talk, share, and I don't have to share this with her, but this is just for myself to be able to process and to be able to keep moving forward, even though I have that sadness inside of me. But I can connect with it really fast. I know it's present there, and I know why it's there, and I know it's gonna probably be there forever. But at least it's not stopping me from living my life. And I am actually acting on that sadness in ways that I feel I can honor it. So that's another example of, do you feel sadness or guilt or both? I often find feeling both combined, which is hard. Susan, I feel more sadness than guilt. I used to feel guilt, but I did choose actively to be here. I choose actively to live in Canada. And I am working to be flexible, and every year we go to visit, and we did a sabbatical year. So I don't feel as much guilt anymore, but I do feel sadness. And especially I feel sadness because I think I connect with my mom's heart, and I feel the sadness that she's feeling. And it makes total sense. I will be heartbroken if I only had one grandchild and he was living so far away from me. And I'm not able to spend time with them on a weekly basis, right? It will break my heart. But at the same time, I will accept that if that's the choice consciously that they are making, I need to accept that too. So, but yeah, it can be a combination of both, right? And that's why bringing things to this container, it's going to allow you to explore. It's going to allow you to become aware. It's going to allow you to recognize, wow, I am feeling a lot of guilt. I am feeling sadness. I am feeling guilt because every time I go to Spain, maybe I get comments from my parents and I feel guilty that I chose to be here rather than being there. I feel sadness because of the separation. And maybe I feel anger of not being accepted for who I am. And maybe my decisions not being completely accepted. So I can feel anything, but I need to discover what that is for me. And you guys need to create that container to be able to discover and explore. And again, trying to teach you how to do this alone, you don't have to do it alone. But I don't want you to be limited, because once you can do this with yourself, you're going to be able to do this with other people. You're going to be able to go and get guidance from someone else way deeper, because you can take yourself deep So you are going to be able to go even deeper if you have support. And it can be a combination, right? It can be when you are healing, sometimes you need to heal things by yourself. Sometimes you need to heal things with others. And sometimes you need to be guided into that healing. So it's always a combination of things. It's like, imagine if you're learning how to play the guitar, okay? So there is a time when you can go to a teacher and he's gonna tell you, I want you to do this scale, I want you to do this chord, and I want you to practice this song. This is the tablature, these are the lyrics. But then that's how much the teacher can do for you. Then you have to take that, go home, and you have to practice. You need to practice the chords, you need to practice the scales, you need to memorize the lyrics of the song, and no one can do that for you. You have to do it. And then when you get stuck in something concrete, you can go to the teacher, say, listen, I'm trying to do this chord and it just doesn't happen. What can I change? Or if you change these fingers, then that's how you can do it. Or I have this exercise that will help you. Or let's practice this with me for the next 10 minutes and I will watch you. But then after, you have to go home and practice. So it's a combination of things, right? So it is the same with healing, right? Sometimes you have to do the work, but sometimes you don't have to always be alone. Maybe she can move to where you are for some time. So Jackie, they came to visit a few times, but them moving here is not a choice that they want, and I respect it. They don't speak any English, and also my grandma she's still alive, and sometimes she needs her help, so it's not as easy for them to just come here for a season. I love your awareness, Emilio. Thank you, Kerry. Yeah, I appreciate that you don't pathologize any of this. You trust us with personal agency by showing up here with vulnerability. Yeah, Amy, I feel that vulnerability is what we need to start embracing more of. And I know sometimes it's scary, but that's why if you are able to create a container for yourself where you feel safe for a limited amount of time, you choose how deep you want to go, and you choose the intention of that container, you are practicing. You are training your nervous system. You are becoming aware of triggers. You are nurturing your mindfulness capacity of being present, of breathe, of recognizing emotions, recognizing where they are in your body, recognizing how they condition you. And then from that place, you're going to be able to have more capacity to then go out and behave differently with people, communicate differently with people, create boundaries that support you from a place of love, not from a place of anger, because you are doing the work of being with yourself, discovering what you need, discovering how things affect you. And sometimes you have to talk to what's present with you. Sometimes you have to talk to those emotions and ask them, what do you need from me? What do I need to learn from this? What is my lesson here? And I know it sounds silly, but sometimes just asking that question and sitting in silence, if you're feeling super angry, just ask, anger, why are you here? What do I need to learn from you? What do I need to learn from this situation that makes me so angry? And maybe you need to scream into the pillow a couple of times, right? Self-regulate, move that energy, and then you enter silence, and maybe you start crying. Allow yourself to cry. Maybe you want to scream more. Maybe you just want to make a ball and just hide for 10 minutes. Hide for 10 minutes. Honor what you need. Allow yourself to do what you need, what your body's asking for. Sometimes, if you do yoga, sometimes doing child's pose can be really powerful. Sometimes do savasana, that is just basically laying on your back with open arms, open legs, covered with a blanket. Sometimes doing a reverse position where you put a pillow, a bolster, or a block on your lower back, and then you lay on your back, and then you open up this. Sometimes just being in that posture can help you just release a lot. So get creative and practice things inside that container. This is a better way to deal with strong emotions than taking it out on the actual person. Thank you, Emilio. Yeah, Trish, taking things out on a person that is triggering you is basically you are reacting. And this is another executive functioning skill that is called impulse control. Okay? Normally, impulse control goes hand in hand with emotional self-regulation. Many times we cannot control our impulses because we are not self-regulating. And we get triggered, and our first instinct is to react, to do what we normally have done, versus us feeling that, us going away, us doing our practice, bringing it to this container, exploring what's happening, what is the belief underneath this, where did I learn this? And then in these practices, guys, you are going to be doing shadow work, you're going to be doing inner child work, you're going to do, all of these labels that you want to call them, but basically you are becoming aware of the patterns, becoming aware of the triggers that you have, and then you're going to start making different choices. And that's where the metacognition executive functioning skill comes into place, right? When you go out of your practice, out into the world, you are going to be more present. You are going to be observing yourself more. And when you can nurture that ability to be able to observe yourself in the present moment, you are going to start recognizing, oh, I want to scream at this person, but I'm not going to do that. I want to punch this person, but I'm not going to do that. And then from that place, you are going to understand what you need, and then you're going to start communicating and acting differently too. You're going to set boundaries. You're going to communicate more clearly from a place of love and respect, but still setting your boundary in a way that the other person understands, can receive, and you are going to honor it. And if it's necessary, you will set a physical boundary. But again, not getting triggered, right? At least not as much. And again, this is a process, right? You are not going to do this from day one, but you are going to start nurturing. You are going to start recognizing, becoming aware, accepting, transforming, forgiving yourself, forgiving others, and then embracing it, and then showing up in a different way. Failing because you don't know what that is. You are learning, okay? So if you always have reacted a specific way to a specific trigger, and all of a sudden you stop doing that, how can you know what to do instead? Unless you start practicing. That's what I do with my wife so many times. And sometimes it feels ridiculous because it's like, okay, so this dynamic clearly is not working out. So we have this dynamic that is happening, okay? So she may get home at 8 o'clock p.m. if I sat in bed and I am exhausted, I'm on the couch, I just was with Eva for the last few hours, I made the dinner, I cleaned the dishes, whatever, and then I'm not very aware and conscious, but I also don't communicate clearly, I don't ask for what I need, and I am not being directional. And then she gets home, and then part of me wants to hang out with her because I feel obligated or because I want to, but part of me feels like, I just want to disappear. I just want to go to my bed, watch a movie and disappear. I don't want to do anything else. But part of me wants to engage with her. Part of me wants to talk to her. Part of me wants to maybe engage in something with her. But then if I'm not clear and I don't make a choice, she can feel that I am kind of wishy-washy. It's like, do you want anything from me or are you doing your own thing? I don't understand what's happening and I don't like this energy. And this keeps happening, right? And I keep trying different approaches and sometimes they just don't work. So it's like, okay, that didn't work. Okay, what can I do next? Okay, maybe I can do this. I'm going to go to my bedroom, close the door. Try that and see what happens. Oh, it didn't feel good. So I keep trying until I find something that works. But I don't want to repeat the same thing. Sometimes I do because I'm unconscious and tired, but ideally I won't. In a perfect world, I will try something different. But guys, it's normal to be tired. It's normal to feel overwhelmed. And when you feel that way, just relax and rest, because maybe it's not the best moment for you to do anything new. Is your men's circle peer-led? How do you find an emotionally safe group for deep work? I have had negative experiences with group work several times, but I think it could help me. Any suggestions? Yeah, Amy, a circle means that everybody who comes is willing to be there. Everybody who comes has the same intention, and ideally it's not always the same person leading. In our men's group we rotate, we call it kingship. Someone is the king that night, and the king means that they are the master of space and time. They are the person who is leading, the person who is making sure that everything flows on time. We rotate every week. Every week is always someone different. Some people have more skills than others to facilitate, to help. Everybody brings their best. Everybody is there not to fix. They don't give unsolicited advice. They are willing to be present. If there is a charge of any kind, they have to name it, and there is a process called a clearing, and we will clear that charge and move that energy away from the circle. There is an accountability, self-accountability round that I already did a live on it. So you have to sense that group, you have to go in there, you have to see how you feel, and you can decide if it's the right group for you or not. If it doesn't feel good, then you need to question yourself. Is this the group or is this me? Is there anything I need to look at? Am I feeling uncomfortable because I am facing something about myself that I don't want to? But sometimes you will see things in the group that you may not enjoy, and then you don't have to be there. Every group is different in agreements. Sometimes there are agreements, and then you just read the agreements, and then hopefully they are clear enough that gives you a good understanding of what is this group about, what are the kind of rules, what is the structure like, and can I come and try it without getting involved, right, if I don't like it. So I will say that I am in a men's group, but there are like mixed gender groups that you can join. There is an association in Europe that is called Healing Circles, and they do have different kinds of circles that are open for, there is always an intention behind. So I know there is a healing circle about people who have cancer or have survived cancer. I know that there was one about people who were abused in specific ways. I don't know, and you can create your own. So I did the training for that organization, and if I wanted to, I could create a healing circle about a specific topic, and I could create my structure, right? But basically a healing circle, a circle is always, we are all even, we are all equal, okay? No one has the power. Everybody creates that container together. Is there a name for the group procedures that you describe, like rules posted online to follow if we want to start our own circle? Thanks. So JB, the circle that I am a part of is called the Mankind Project, MKP. My wife is a part of a circle for women that is called Woman Between. And then there is another association that is called Healing Circles, and you can see the structure that they have on their website there. And then if you do a quick search locally, you will find maybe something that exists in your area. In here, for example, in my area, I discovered a breathing group. So they get together and they do breathing exercises. There is another group that they do drumming. It's a drumming circle. So they get together in a circle and they do drumming. So it can be, depends where you live, maybe what's available can be different, but online, it's worldwide. So you just have to make sure that the right time works for you, right? But yeah, those are some avenues for you to explore different scenarios on how to get support externally. So guys, we are out of time. Thank you so much for being here. If you like this session and you can support me with a donation, I will really appreciate it. And I hope to see you in the next session, where I will be covering the topic of discovering your shadow. And we're gonna be diving into maybe things that then you can bring to this container that you now know how to create. So I hope to see you there next week. And Susan, do you pay for it? I don't pay for I only pay for the location if we have a location, but if not, I don't pay for it. I do pay for the trainings. There is a fee for the trainings if you want to do trainings. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope that you can start creating your circle, your container, and I hope to see you guys in the next session if you can make it. Okay. Adiós.